Hello and welcome to Nigeria Now on Ekwa Television International. My name is Joyce Jakada. On Nigeria Now, the Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited, a security outfit contracted by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company (NNPC) Limited, has intercepted another massive vessel carrying barrels of stolen crude oil in the Kravos area of Delta State. The vessel, allegedly owned by a Nigerian registered company, was heading to Cameroon with the cargo on board when it was apprehended at an offshore location with the captain and crew members on board. The oil cargo, said to be illegally sourced from a well-jacket offshore in Ondo State with no valid documentation at the time of arrest. These and many more we shall be discussing on Nigeria Now. Sele Elisha is here to do this with me. Good afternoon, Sele.
Afternoon, Joyce.
How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you so much.
This is another massive arrest by the Tantita security outfit alongside with security operatives of the Joint Task Force Operation Delta Safe. And amidst the fuel subsidy removal, we're seeing stolen crude oil. And I was just wondering, like, when Nigerians are crying of hardship, Nigerians are busy wailing in pain, the government are talking about cushioning the effect, and we are seeing that some people are still having a swell time. You will recall that a lot of people reacted to the removal of fuel subsidy. In policy, good. Some looked at the methodology and said no, bad, because there were no measures put in place to cushion the effect prior to the announcement and up till this day. And then people are in pain, and while they are in pain, we're seeing that some people are stealing crude oil. Like, this has generated a lot of reactions, and I don't even know what to say at this point, Sele. Imagine 800,000 liters of stolen crude oil.
Joyce, you know what? I'm not surprised when you say you're out of words because, of course, this is a situation that actually will just make you to be surprised and you wonder what is really happening. And we're not talking about, because if you're going to look at this issue, just like you rightly mentioned, 800,000 liters of vessel was found on the sea about in Cameroon born going out. You will recall that this is not the first time we're having that. Last year, this was an issue the past administration was trying hard to actually fight, and interview was being conducted by different people, and then they said this has been going on for the past 9 years. We've been having that, and then Nigerians were of course concerned with the fact that we're not talking about stealing of crude oil in jerry cans, because this would have been maybe possibly these are just Nigerian, but if we're talking about vessels, we're talking about hardcore criminals, we're talking about people who really know the intrigues of all of this thing, we're talking about people who know the inside and outside and how they have been, they have been actually doing this, and then they have been successful over the years. So I'm really happy looking at the will I say success that been recorded, but then we will not fold our arms and say that we have actually, succeed in doing away with oil theft, because this is one of the things that has really, really eaten, Nigeria deeply. Talking about oil theft is something that we're yet to even meet our own court of the OPEC, and then here again we're having some Nigerians somewhere, because definitely one thing I believe is that we're not talking about people outside Nigeria. Despite the fact that we're talking about Cameroon, yes, but then we have a border that we share together. So definitely there must be an insider in all of this thing. And over the years, we've seen reporters going, you see where some of them talking about oil spillage in the Niger Delta River. Just recently on the papers, last week it was on the papers, the people, residents, they are complaining about oil spillage and what will be done about that. So I'm truly calling on the government that we should not just sit back and fold our arms and say, yes, we have recorded success, but let us do something about this oil theft, because it's really eating into our economy, because this is the only resources we have that we actually depend on, despite the fact that we have others, but then it's unfortunate that we are just depending on the oil. And then the oil that we are happy, initially it was Angola that was leading, just recently we have taken over. So we shouldn't even be happy, because even taking over is just by some few thousand. It's a matter of, yes, if we don't take care, Angola will take over again. So I am looking forward to when the government will do what they have to do let us see patrol going on. Custom are saying that they are trying to make sure that they increase the number of security agencies that keep going through the patrol. So I hope that they will be honest to actually stand up to their responsibility.
Stella, it's really sad to know that this vessel has been operating illegally for over a decade now. The last time it was intercepted, like, they changed the name and they continued operation. This is just one of the interceptions. So we don't even know how many journeys, how many stolen crude oil have been taken out of the country, like to the countries like Cameroon and others. That, like, I don't know the processes. We have security operatives, and yet we keep having reoccurrence of all this stolen crude oil. We thought at this point Nigerians can sleep, Nigerians can breathe, can say, oh, we have dealt with this issue. But you know, one thing that I fault the removal of the subsidy, I think the first thing that should have been done, as good intended as it is, the first thing that should have been done is to go after those people that have been stealing crude oil in the country. I remember it was in 2012 that a committee was set to look into this issue, and till today we've not had any like prosecution. Like, you keep hearing of investigation. As we speak right now, the NNPCL is investigating this same vessel. And 12 years ago, over 10 years ago, the same vessel was operating, changed name when it was intercepted for illegally transporting or moving crude oil. It changed name and it kept operating for this number of years. There is no way that this vessel will operate without local and international partners. It's not possible. So who are the people behind this? These are information that are very critical. We can't just say, oh, we have intercepted this vessel, investigation is ongoing, and then the issue will just die down at the detriment of who? The hungry Nigerians, those that cannot access health. Like, we have issues when it comes to accountability and transparency. And as a nation, until we deal with this issue, then we can't boast of development. How can an issue like this be like sidelined? For years, this has been going on, and yet we've not heard of prosecution. Of course, other people feel that, oh, this is a good venture. Yes, this is a good venture to actually dive into. And no wonder till today we are still talking about crude oil being stolen. You were here, Sele, when we discussed how that some Cameroonians were protesting, tricycle riders were protesting that, oh, because Nigeria removed subsidy on petroleum products, so their passengers, their customers should expect the hike in prices of transportation and all of that. Oh, this is enough information that should be taken very handy by intelligence units. These are things that we shouldn't take for granted. For me, beyond the removal of fuel subsidies, people like this should be investigated, not just investigated. All the money that have been accrued through this means should be returned back to the country. Like, those people should be made to pay back. We're talking about 16 trillion naira that cannot even be accounted for. Definitely one person cannot just wake up and do all of this. There are people behind it. But because of some nepotic reasons, like, oh, I'm affiliated to this, oh, I'm related to this, you hear issues dying down. But we cannot continue on this trajectory. If we must build this country, it is only on truth that will build Nigeria. We cannot be hiding under the psychophancy just to be telling leaders what they want to hear. The needful must actually be done. It was just recently we saw the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, presided by Justice James Omotoshon, asking the federal government to give account of Abacha recovered loot. We've been hearing on the news how that like money is being recovered, and then you don't get to hear what the money is being used for. And that's why Nigerians continue to complain about looting, relooting of recovered loot and all of that. So we must be responsible in terms of being accountable, giving informations that Nigerians need to know as regard all of this, because we're talking about public funds here. The needful must actually be done. Again, Kuka and eminent Nigerians urged Tinubu to lead war against corruption. Like when I saw this, of course, it must start with the leaders. I've heard situations where the presidents called on Nigerians to be patient with the baby step. yes, he cannot hide the fact that people are suffering, but he's saying Nigerians should be patient, should endure hardship. And I recall saying that why can't we have our leaders saying, oh, we're going to cut the cost of governance so that Nigerians can have better life. You hardly hear of that. You see members of National Assembly sharing humongous amount of money, hefty salaries they pay themselves, while Nigerians suffer. And then what you keep hearing is that be patient with us, endure the hardship, joy will come in the morning. And like people go ahead to quote scriptures for you. And I was just wondering, can we have a system where we have leaders that will be sacrificial, leaders that will go into power with the heart of serving the people? I think this is very needful.
This is very important because just like you said, Kuka and other eminent, Nigerians were actually calling on the president. And actually, it was during Efe Babalola's 60 years in Bar, and then they were just trying to call up on what has been happening over the years. We've seen the likes of Gowon and many others actually calling on the president to do something about, leading the fight against corruption. We will recall that the fight on corruption did not start in this administration, and this is not the first time, and that was why it was kind of funny to me, because this is not the first time we're hearing this, but then what has been done concerning every time we hear leaders or we hear stakeholders trying to hold our leaders accountable and see, lead the fight against corruption. And I was saying that if we really want to say lead the fight against corruption, then the fight should start from your own cabinet members. Take a look at the people you have selected as either those who are in the Senate, those who are in the House of Reps. Let's take a look at them gradually, one after the other. Look at their portfolio. What have they done over the years? I think this was part of the thing that Nigerians were looking before we had the Senate President, the 10th House of Assembly. Part of the people that were there, this were the concern Nigeria raised its head. If for the leaders that we're going to have there, let us take a look at them. How have they been over the years? Are they transparent? Are they credible? Are they honest? Can we trust them with our funds and all of this thing? And we recall even during the Buhari administration, he said that Nigeria then was part of the country that is free of corruption. And of course, Nigerians were asking, how do you come up with this scorecard? How can you say Nigeria is free of corruption? We're talking about hunger is really increasing. A lot of Nigerians are leaving the shores of Nigeria to go to other countries. The Japa syndrome seems to be going up and up every day. I'm going to look at other things that are not going well. Our transport sector seems to be going down. Aviation, our health workers are actually going on strike. Last week we saw they say they're giving the government 2 weeks ultimatum. So a lot of things are actually under this corruption of a thing, because if we see that the government is truly trying to fight corruption, then we'll begin to see that every sector will be falling in place. And that was why, the bishop was saying that corruption was higher during the Buhari administration, because we saw a lot of things going, and then it seems as if nothing was being done about that. We saw that it was during the Tinubu administration that the EFCC boss was being arrested. We saw also that of the CBN, governor, and then many others. Eventually, they will be probing them to see if they actually qualify. Presently, right now, the ministerial list is on the table of the DSS and the EFCC. So we are hoping that with all of this thing, are you going to take your time to investigate and check these ministers one after the other? No wonder people came out to say, please, the president should not elect ex-governors, especially those who have questionable character. So we're calling on the president, adding up our voice to the voice of other people to please. We have gone through enough hardship already as it is. Talking about electricity hike, we do not do, because these girls are pushing. They want this electricity to be hiked by force. And then what will happen to the common man? It was you that said the common man will turn to dust if something is not being done. So at the end of the day, when you look at this whole thing, corruption is actually eating and eating. It has eaten deep into our economy. We saw when, still on the paper this morning, the former president Obasanjo is saying that some of our leaders, especially those in the Senate and the House of Rep, are actually giving themselves big salaries. And then we're having the common man still fighting and begging the government to increase their minimum wage. So a lot of things is actually not going right. But we hope that right now that the president is back into the country as the chairman of ECOWAS, it's expected that a lot of eyes are on him. Let us see how he's going to lead by his own country. Because it's one thing for you to say you are the chairman and then we don't lead by example. So just like I will keep maintaining that, let him start this fight on corruption from his own cabinet members. That is the only way Nigerians will know that truly this president have them in heart, and then he has this economy in heart, because we can still relate it to the 800,000 vessel of oil that was found. It's still part of corruption, because we're not talking about small criminals. We're talking about hardcore criminal people who know the in and out. So all of this thing can still be boiled down to corruption. So we're looking forward to the president. The eyes of Nigerians are on him right now. Let us see what he's going to do concerning this.
Sele, what interests me about the personalities that made it to the Diamond Jubilee or at like in bar of Afe Babalola yesterday in Ado Ekiti in Ekiti State, is the fact that almost all the attention and focus was on corruption, because this is something that has eaten deep into the nation and has resorted to the poor state and then the poor welfare of Nigerians. It is what has kept us from growing, from moving forward, and made us to be where we are, because we see where leaders, monies that are meant to for hospitals, for infrastructural development, they sideline it, they keep it in their personal pockets at the detriment of the national health of Nigerians. So that was actually prominent. It was key. It was a focus. We saw the likes of former President Olusegun Obasanjo present, the likes of Yakubu Gowon and Matthew Hassan Kuka, the Archbishop of Sokoto, was also in attendance. And the call to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to strengthen the fight against corruption is one that is very timely, if you ask me. I remember that the former administration led by President Muhammadu Buhari emphasized fighting corruption as one of its cardinal area that it was going to focus on. But just like the Catholic Archbishop of Sokoto talking about Hassan Kuka has highlighted, we saw how the corruption waxed stronger during the last administration, and so the expectations on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to do the needful. They talked about the fact that he shouldn't romance with people that already have cases in the court about looting of the nation's treasury, because right now, because of the expectation on the ministers, the list of ministers and who are going to actually emerge, a lot of people are trying to find their way into the presidential villa, and no wonder the human rights lawyer Femi Falana is calling on the president, saying that, see, do not, all eyes are actually on you. He has to refrain from sending the wrong signals, because by the time somebody has looted all the treasury in his state and he's going to visit the president, people's eyes are going to be there saying, oh, what's this person doing, what is this one doing with the president, what's the relationship, oh, will the name be among the ministerial list? Because right now there are a lot of lists that are going on, even though the presidency have debunked that. But just like Femi Falana has called on the president, I think it's needful for him to refrain from sending the wrong signals. And he said that he has several high-profile politicians with looting cases in the court that are still trying to find their way to the presidential villa. And the monies, like I said earlier on, they still monies that are meant for building hospitals and monies for ecology, for education, for the health sector, and they do nothing about it, and people end up dying. So these are not people that we want to see at the helms of affairs. And beyond just overlooking some of these things that these people do, they should be brought to book. Like, we don't want oh, we are going to get them, bring them to book, and nothing is being done. Their cases should be investigated, and then those that are found wanting or guilty should be punished, so that others that are coming in will see that, no, this is not a good venture for me to talk, because if I do, I'm going to end like Mr. A did. So it's important that the president selects people on the basis of competence and integrity. This is the only thing that will help us to move this country forward. We live in a country where People truncate from one political party to the other just for what they are going to get. Oh, now you are a criminal. When the party that emerged is, if APC emerged as a winner, if you're in PDP, you truncate to APC so that you will be safe.
Will be pardoned.
Yes, because that's what we see politicians doing. After transition, they truncate from one political party to the other so that their sins are forgiven. We saw that in the last administration, how a lot of politicians after the election, they just truncate to another party so that, oh, once we are here, we are shielded, we are safe, nothing will happen to us. This is not the case that Nigerians are actually looking forward to. They want a system whereby a spade is called a spade. When somebody is caught in the act, evidence is being given, let that person be prosecuted so that will be serve as a lesson to other people that want to tour the same path. So I think it is needful for the president to lead that fight. Like I said, we look forward to a time where governance is going to be about improving the welfare of Nigerians. Leadership is going to be about service from the heart to the people. It was the Catholic Archbishop that spoke on the future of constitutional democracy in Nigeria, imperative of the new constitutional order, and Kuka stated that corruption thrived in the last administration and lamented Nigeria sharing sovereignty with bandits and terrorists. I think this caught my attention because as a country, we cannot share sovereignty with bandits and terrorists. This goes a long way to show you how we have been romancing these people. I've said this several times. How can their number outweigh the over 200 million Nigerians that we're talking about, that we cannot have peace in our own ancestral homes, in our own country, because of some few individuals that are bent on destroying the peace and unity progress of this nation? It goes a long way to tell you that there are people that are benefiting from this. And no wonder for over a decade, all these terrorist groups keep waxing stronger. Not until we develop the political will to deal with these issues, we keep going back and forth. No matter the level of development in terms of infrastructure, it will be counted against you if there is no peace, if people are dying, if properties are being destroyed. So we hope that the government, we hope that the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu will do the needful, will lead the fight against corruption so that the system can be strengthened and people will do the needful, especially in terms of leadership.
Yeah, Joy, let me just add up a little. While you were talking, something just went through my mind, and it's just kind of, it's high time we stop having the stories just on our papers, and then after there, nothing else. I clearly remember during the Mahmoud's case, the issue of terrorism, and he was saying some of the people involved are ex-governors and this, and then we never got their names. I remember the administration then said that they want to persecute these people secretly, no press, nobody is allowed. So how then do we tend to make an example or set an example to people who are toiling in the same path? So just like you have said, to add up to what you said, we hope that if we truly want to fight corruption, then we have to be accountable and transparent to the system. We have to be accountable to Nigeria, because Nigerians are the ones who elected these leaders into office. They expect you to be accountable to them. Let them know this is what is happening. This is the fall we've recovered from Abacha. This is where the money went into. The $800 million that we say we're going to use it for palliative. This is the people who benefit. And I think with that, Nigerians will know that truly this government is truly ready to fight it. We remember Efe Babalola is someone that always make a column concerning education. And education is one of the sectors that have suffered as a result of this corruption. So we hope that the president will do the right thing. And I'll keep maintaining, let him start this fight from his cabinet members.
Well, we cannot boast of democracy without good governance, without seeing that the welfare of the Nigerians or the common man is being improved. So democracy should be reflected in good governance. And like I said earlier on, we cannot also boast of democracy in a system where members of National Assembly are giving themselves hefty salary packages at the detriment of over half of its population wallowing in poverty. Nigeria is a great country, and together we can actually make it great. And that is when we start speaking truth to power, not hiding under the umbrella of sycophancy for what we are going to get. Thank you so much, Sele, for doing this.
Always my pleasure.
This is how far we'll go on Nigeria Now. Thank you for staying with us. Until we come your way tomorrow, same time, you have a great day.